The readings for the fifth lecture of the first unit of ATS 113 come from Chapter 3. They're going to be pages 53 to 64 and 69 through 70. But some parts of it are more important than others. Let's go through it just real quick, and I'll show you that there's some parts that you are responsible for, and there are some parts that are just to be skipped. I really like this discussion at the beginning of the section about Hurricane Mitch. I think that will definitely help put into perspective how this physics of the atmosphere stuff that we're doing now relates to the kind of severe weather stuff that we'll get to later in the semester. Now we're going to start learning about the different things that can happen to radiation in the atmosphere, and there's an abbreviation that we're going to use in this class. ARTS, A-R-T-S, stands for absorption, reflection, transmission, and scattering. And you're going to be learning about all these processes right here through this section of the book. Here on page 56 you can see we talk about absorption, then it moves down to the bottom of the page to reflection and scattering. And I want to highlight here in a section here that I labeled in red. This is going to be a section about Rayleigh scattering, and then continuing on to the next page to Mie scattering, and then goes down to about the middle of the page 59. You are individually responsible for that material. We probably won't have time to talk about it in class. Obviously, if you have questions about it, I'd be glad to answer your questions, but you are individually responsible for the differences between those two types of scattering. On the other hand, just to kind of throw you guys a bone, so to speak, we'll throw out the one that's described in the last paragraph on page 59 that says non-selective scattering. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out what actually happens to all this radiation in the Earth's atmosphere, because this is about moving heat around in the atmosphere, and so we're going to be keeping track of the shortwave or solar radiation and the longwave or terrestrial radiation. And there's going to be lots of different processes that are transferring this energy and reflecting this energy. A term I really want you to watch out for here is albedo. It's used on page 61 in the sense of planetary albedo, in the sense of how much the planet is reflecting of the solar radiation. Albedo is about reflecting solar radiation. Clouds have a very high albedo. They reflect almost everything. Something dark like the ground reflects very little solar radiation, so we say that it has a low albedo. Watch for this word albedo because we're going to be using it quite a bit this semester. Alright, so we're working our way through this section on page 62 about a budget as to how much heat from the sun accomplishes what, how it moves through the atmosphere. A key term here to be watching for is atmospheric window. It's down here near the bottom of page 62. This is an important term. It has to do with how heat escapes the Earth's atmosphere. On page 63, you don't need to worry about the text box at the top of the page. And then on 64, just go as far as where it says conduction. We, of course, have already learned at this point about conduction and convection and the other processes that are described here. If you need a review, this is a nice place to review them. Then I need you to jump ahead to just pages 69 and page 70, which have a brief overview of the greenhouse effect. Now, this is a very, very short discussion of it because there's a whole chapter about climate change issues at the end of the book. I believe it's chapter 16. So just read this couple paragraphs about global warming, and we'll talk about it in a slightly different context in class today. All right, I hope that helps. Make sure you take care, especially of those materials that you're individually responsible for. If you have any questions, let me know. This has been Dr. John Schrage, copyright 2006.